So good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to another scene for the living world of darkness, rage across New York, where in the wake of battle, various members of various packs and families and groups have gone their various ways, and have also been finding ways to cope and to catch up or to celebrate or do what they do. In the case of 10 Point, she's not celebrating. She's not really coping well either. The barely functional Metis has been given a task, and like a good Omega, she has done her task. But it has been done for a long time. And as much as she desperately wants to run to Haraya, the last time that she stretched out after him, there was, well, in her head a punishment as a result. She was lashed out at. So she has sat and sat in Aiden's room, probably curled up on the foot of his bed in lupus, hoping loudly, admittedly, that soon he'll come back. Soon he'll come back. And hours have stretched. And without anything to focus on, without a task to distract her, she's begun kind of degrading again, falling back into that state of kind of shock. And eventually fraying to where it's starting to edge into the pack link. And finally, there's really not enough sense there to reason that she should stay and should wait. She wants the thing, so she's going to go and she's going to find the thing because she needs it. She desperately needs some sort of consolation. So she will finally unfold herself from the foot of the bed and with very little thought on it, simply hops down, trots to the door, noses it open, and just wheels towards the lake. Probably initially kind of slinking along and then finally going at a much faster, much more eager, much steadier kind of a clip as she goes to... Okay, there we go. Let me pause this. Okay, sorry. But she will, she will finally pick up her pace pretty rapid-like to close the gap out of a desperate need and not slow again until she's fairly nearby.
I mean, yeah, she'll see Aiden. The first thing she probably sees is that horrific scarred back. She'll see kind of bottles laying out in the grass as well. See, his hair is wet. You can obviously tell he's dipped himself in. He's taking a drink, and you can hear the whole low hums as well as he's kind of singing, staring out at the lake.
Oh yeah, she is a far cry from stealthy. She comes I mean, it's open in the pack link, which she's doing, of course, and yeah, she comes along at a pretty quick clip. It's easy to hear her, though as she gets within a certain range, she kind of slows until she's at a bit of a stop. And finally, ducking her head, slinking, lowering her body, curling her tail, starts kind of a tentative approach.
Yeah, he'll kind of sit there for a bit, like shake his hair, and the bits of water will fleck along his now like shirtless form. As you can tell, he's probably trying to get some air on the scars as well. And he'll take a drink and look over and see, well, his Omega. And he'll look at her. What's wrong?
Well, that's about all the prompt she needs. She'll initially, as he turns and looks at her, freeze in place, like paw up and everything. And given something that is not negative stimuli, pretty much is all it takes for her to kind of break into a lunge over, nosing up under his arm in a desperately needy fashion.
Shift up the Hamilton, but I hate talking to you when you're like that. You take a long knock of it out of the drink.
And I suppose she can't spend rage, but she will very rapidly comply. in shifting to Hamid. Her expression is much easier to read. And it's not looking so hot.
What's up? She takes a drink. Something after happening.
And she kind of chews on her lower lip for about half a second as he's talking, and finally just kind of, without waiting for permission or a gesture to do so, just kind of climbs into his lap.
He doesn't say anything. He doesn't seem angry either. He just takes a drink. Yeah, I'm feeling that way too.
And she will do a thing for lack of proper faculties. She climbs into his lap and curls against his chest in a very familiar position, something that's very secure, very comforting, at least for her. Even if he's not got an arm around her, you know what? Close enough. And she will just promptly and without provocation or warning will kind of lock into his portion of the pack link, kind of a straight one-on-one, and will share with him what she saw when she attempted to make her sacrifice to the right.
You'll kind of stare at her for a bit as he takes another drink and just strokes her hair. That's the worm, 10 point. Corrupts and twists things that are meant to be pure and simple and turns them into the very things that we fear because that's what they think will make us dance down.
There will be a notable kind of snuffle as she reaches up and rubs at her eyes, nodding kind of weakly.
You're all right. You made it, though, soul. You did it. You stood in the face of it and you came back out.
Then she remains curled up there. She's got her hair stroked. She's not any happier, but perhaps anchoring a little better. And she kind of finally looks up and just very piteously answers, it was so hard, Raya.
Reaches and touches her face gently. Of course. The temptation is always the most greatest thing that we'll always face. And to say that it was easy would be a discredit to your will. Lorem is never easy.
And he's not wearing a shirt for her to latch onto, so the one arm will kind of come hook up across his chest, like the hug around the neck thing from the side. She curls a little tighter into his lap. I couldn't feel you anymore. What did Alice?
But you still stood and did it. still came out. You still did what you had to do. That fear is perfectly fine. But you survived.
Only because it said something you wouldn't.
And you had the wherewithal to realize it. That's more credit to you, what you've learned, than anything.
And since we're visiting it, she's probably been, breathing a little rapidly, a little more hitched. So, it'll slowly start to regulate towards normal. Not there yet, but at least not continue at the same ragged pace. And she, for her part, is at least still covered in woad, still braided, still having paid zero attention to herself since the battles ended. It was so bad, Rhina.
Yeah, it was. It was bad.
She kind of shakes her head for a second. The hand around his neck and shoulder kind of pulls back, presses idly at the side of her head. I don't want to fight separate from you again, Raya. You were hurt. I could feel it.
You nearly died?
I should have been there.
You did your duty. It takes a lot more than some spiral to kill me. After all, you heard the howl, right? You'll take a drink. Great Eden Lynch.
Thrives in twilight, Raya.
Yeah, well. Look what I did. It's my fault, you know.
And it's her turn to reach up and lightly touch one of his cheeks. We all fought, Raya.
I could see Dallas running and I could see Saoirse panicking. And I just needed them to hold the line. I told Chad to stand with me and just took a drink, takes another drink. His hand's starting to shake a bit. I saw the whole fucking thing. Fucking saved Von Everett's life.
And admittedly, she's still the slightest bit off kilter. So it'll be the handshake that really starts to get her. And while one hand is holding a bottle, the other is not. And so his free hand will be glanced at, stared at for a moment, as if she's trying to decide if her eyes are tricking her. And finally, she'll reach out and take it. And just bring it in, holding on to it.
That was my fault.
Many died, Raya.
It was my order, 10 point. I thought, if he's gone, I might have lost you.
Your head lightly begins to shake a bit. Just the light drifts side to side. I told you I would never leave you, Raya.
And everyone else is celebrating it. I just couldn't. 10 point, I couldn't do it. No, fucking Shinlo's dead. Crazy bald bastard managed to get himself fucking killed.
And her face falls.
I didn't mean to lash out at people. I just couldn't stand there celebrating and patting each other on the back.
Are you mad at me, Raya?
Why would I be mad at you?
I just wanted to be close.
I lash out at people, 10 point. That's what I do. I didn't want to snarl at any of you, so I just pushed you all the way and went here. So I wouldn't have to get into a fight or frenzy and then have everyone looking at me like they always do.
They don't know what they're looking at. And again, the fingers will rise up and just kind of brush over his cheek.
I couldn't. I wanted to hold on to you so badly. Not out of like this affection. It's just I'm so fucking happy to see you were alive.
And considering that the mention of Shinlo has gotten her a little worse than misty-eyed, but no worse than a tear or two. She kind of hiccups a bit as she utters a very weak little laugh.
I don't like opening up in front of people. It's that damn pride.
And she'll start to give a little bit of a squirm just to free up the arm she's kind of pinned between them. Though as she gets it to where she could set it around his back, she'll kind of catch herself maybe halfway through the gesture. And finally, with her outside arm, will just kind of reach across his chest. And just kind of catch him up and give him a firm squeeze. I'm close now, Mariah.
They hear about how brave you were in there. And I feel guilty for not being there right beside you.
It's not brave, Raya, to do what has to be done.
You stood right in the face of the worm, and yes, you were shaken and afraid. But you still came back to yourself. You still came back and did your duty. That's bravery. For many others have fallen to it.
And with the reminder, she does the strangest thing, and even the feedback on it is very both opposite and very tightly mixed, where she kind of gives a startled laugh but tears up all the more and is left rubbing her cheeks as she kind of verbally has a bit of a break mid laugh, and more tears well and fall down her face.
Look at me being, well, me. He'll smirk.
I like that you're you.
You'll be one of the first, 10 point.
Sorry, what was that?
You'll be one of the first.
That's a shame, Raya. You deserve better.
Most of the good things I've had in my life are gone, 10 point. I think the only things I have left are you, Banshee, Dallas, Balin.
And again, there's that weird kind of hiccuping laugh and cry as she shakes her head. I gave up the last thing I had. It wasn't one of you. It was worth it, Raya. Because you're alive. Dallas is alive. And the pain is gone.
There's always something else to fight.
She, one last time, just kind of the most broken little attempt at a laugh. I hope not the same, Raya. I don't have any more violins.
Oh no. You look up at her. What happened to it? Who broke it?
I had to give a sacrifice, Raya.
Ah, Jesus, 10 point.
And by now, even though she's trying so hard to smile, yeah, there's free flowing tears.
Oh, come here. Yeah, he'll kind of, put his arms around her very gently and very tenderly.
She shamelessly Dives into that embrace.
Why did you do it to her? Why'd you break your thing, 10 Point?
I had to give up something big enough, and it was the only thing I had from home.
How badly broken is it?
I was in Krynos Shrine. It's gone.
Ah, Jesus. I'm gonna rub the back of his head. We'll get you a new one.
And she'll stay settled, pretty weirdly calm. It just not sobbing, not making a lot of noise, just leaking a lot of tears with her cheek against his chest or shoulder, I suppose. I still have the case and the bow. That's something.
Yeah, we'll get you a new one. I'll have Sheila go into town and see can we find you a new one.
And she puts on the brave face, but it's pretty clear. There's kind of a hole left there. She didn't have many belongings to start with, and she had precious few from back across the ocean.
We'll get you a new one, I promise, alright? I'll even make sure we'll go down. I'm sure there's the one who does specifically ones from back home as well. Okay?
It's okay, right?
No. We'll get you a new one.
She finally gives a bit of a squirm so that she can counter hug properly. Though when the hand gets around behind his back, instead of wrapping around, it'll kind of very, very gently, barely brushing the skin, will kind of run up the line of scarring. But you're alive.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, isn't it? You smirk. You can feel it going up the scars, so he kind of squirms a bit. Not in pain, just like not used to them being there, you know?
And again, it's kind of that brave face, but a kind of strangely toothy smile. Almost as bad as mine, right?
Yeah, well. These hurt like a fucking bitch. He'll smirk a bit. Plus, you didn't have a guy a silver axe charging at you.
There's probably like, I mean, it's not like a PTSD worthy flashback, but there's probably brief flashes here and there, or at least one good one. And, though she quickly shakes her head. No. No axe. No charging.
He'll smile at her gently and kind of stroke her hair. Well, it wasn't really the axe, it was more the exploding black spiral dancer. He'll smirk a bit. Big fucker. You would have liked him.
Hope every piece of him fell on cement and nourishes nothing.
By the way, I have something for you.
Her brown knit's a bit. Though she doesn't move to disengage really.
He'll reach over into his bag, and yeah, there is a brain.
The hand kind of the not the one around his back. That one has stopped the idle like stroking at the scarred tissue and just kind of settled against his back. But the other will come up, and she will one-handedly root in her own bag, and comically will pull out a piece of Tupperware because you know what, that shit's just convenient. And she'll have to fight with it a bit to get it open one-handed, but we'll do so.
That's his brain.
Good. Then I hope there is enough for it to be worthy to Dana.
He was one of the main people we saw leading the spirals. One of the main. So
I'm sure she'll be pleased.
She fucking better be. He'll smile at her. I earned that fucking brain.
And she's got more of an easy smile now rather than a forced one. She'll, once she has fought the lid back on the Tupperware, which is, believe it or not, harder than fighting it off in the first place, she'll slide it into her own swag, rub at her cheek, and then promptly snake the arm back around him, determined to remain latched on like a lamprey.
Well, they call us a dividing force.
They're stupid, Raya.
Well, guess who rallied the entire front eastern line?
Sounds like this they say a lot, see very, very little.
Oh, aye. Don't you worry, they say a lot more than you think. You smile. Thanks for cheering me up, Tim Boyd.
She'll shoot a glance up at him. It's at least almost the full-on doe eyes. As she just kind of muses aloud. I wasn't very cheerful, Raya.
Just you being there helped. Helped a lot.
I'll always be here, Raya.
Good.
Just please don't make me leave, not for a little while.
I think we need to get you clean. Kind of like playfully like dip at one of her LWOD pieces on her face.
Well, there's definite acknowledgement. There's like a mild static. Yet again, something along the lines of don't wanna, because let's face it, this would require detaching from Maiden to accomplish.
I can clean you if you like.
And the static, is it just magically gone? That would be a tiny nod.
Do I do it in the lake or back of the cabin? The lake's nice, but if I ever go back to cabin, I have to get the hose.
There's kind of a nose wrinkle at the ladder. Here's fine, Raya.
Merlin.
And yeah, she'll finally dislodge at least a little bit. Seeing as that would require getting at least partway in the lake, most likely.
Yeah, and he'd just cup water in his hands and just gently wash her face off. Just incredibly tenderly, incredibly gently. Lock eyes with her. So what's the plan then, 10 point?
And all things considered, she gets the eye lock, and the autopilot has her mouth open very briefly, but she just kind of fumbles it. Thinking in general just kind of stops.
You alright?
And she closes her mouth and purses her lips into a line and then just nods rapidly, awkwardly.
What's up? I know that look. Something's wrong. It kind of will gently dip water just into her hair so the braids loosen a bit more naturally.
And she tries to kind of protest the idea with a mild shake of her head. Very small because she doesn't want to. She really doesn't need to go and mess him up while he's doing things that could involve ending up pulling her hair and whatnot. So yeah, it's a small head shake. And it's fucking dark. So chances of him catching her with a mild flush is pretty low. Nothing wrong's right. It's fine.
What's up? Might as well be honest with me about it before you try. When you do that thin press of a line expression you do, I always know there's something wrong. So what's the problem?
Nothing's wrong, right? I'm just. And again, the relief floods through, and it's a little tinged, but it's very real. I'm just very happy you're okay.
I'm happy you're alright too. I was worried about you.
It just scared me when I couldn't feel you. But I saw you. But I knew it wasn't you.
Oh, I was out there alright. I think the whole fucking hellhole heard me roaring.
A very fond little smile. We heard. Glad you did. Get me strong, Raya.
Have to be Fiona. You smile at her a bit.
Of course.
Ah. Let's get you home.
Another just kind of tiny nod of compliance. Doesn't have a lot left in her. She will take the time to wring her hair out, the best of her ability, anyways.
He'd smile at her as he's helping her up out of the water. I mean, now that I have this brand new deed name, I suppose we can celebrate it just a tiny bit.
She kind of, yeah, she'll take the hand and get helped out of the water, be wringing her hair, and he says celebrate, and she kind of pauses and glances up.
Well, I always helped out with Chad's stuff, and I've got stuff on that. But we're alive, and who knows? By judging by the things, I'll be ready to challenge for Adrian soon, so might as well start celebrating a bit of the youth while I still have it.
She's still casting him a very awkward, curious, but puzzled look.
Well, I'll be dancing with Dawn in the morning, so would you like to go? I have some leftover beers. Do you want to watch the movies? And I'll go dance and we can head to bed then.
There's a abrupt and eager nod.
Come up here then. He kind of like spread his hands.
Oh yeah. She will happily come into his arms.
Yep, and he picks up his beers with her in his arm and will carry her back to his pack cabin. They will watch beers and he will go swing dancing with Dawn in the morning.
I mean, to be fair, the thing happened at what? The middle of the night? So it's probably morning, as it were. Because they definitely did a dance for her.
Yep.
He's probably clear until the next night. But yeah, normally he just kind of scoops her up and she's kind of non-committal about it. This time, nah, she eagerly climbs up into his arms, puts hers around his neck, latches on properly.
Yeah, he just brings her back and they watch movies and probably fall asleep, probably pass out on the sofa.
Yep. And she will be all up in his personal space the entire time. She at the very least seems to take a lot of comfort from it. It keeps her thoughts from getting erratic or stilted. So yeah, she'll curl up with him on the couch, fall asleep watching movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose that is the safest possible place to end this scene. So I'll say thank you, player, for playing, watchers for watching. We'll see you next time on The Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York.